Okay. So Doug was sitting in this chair just a few minutes ago, and he mentioned in 2008, when the group that was fortunate enough to be a part of the founding of what he called the Big Tent back then, we were in a desert. I want you to go back in time. It's 2008. You want to learn about building a purpose-based business. You want to learn about how to build a culture that cares for its people and profit integrating together. There weren't a lot of options for conferences. We were very relevant because we were one of the pioneers of creating a container to be able to have the kind of conversations that maybe we now take a little bit for granted. We have many fellow traveler organizations. There are conferences all over the world now that are adjacent to this conversation, and they are fellow travelers. And we had a unique point of view in 2008, and it is my, honor on behalf of the organization and the board to actually share with you what we've been living into as a movement, as an organization and a movement, and why we believe that our big tent, this big tent that we're in right now, is incredibly important for the future of what we all care about. But there's relevance here and there's something unique here. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at the tent poles. And so we have 3 tent poles. The first one is diversity. And I'm going to call this more of a multi-dimensional diversity. The second tent pole of freedom that is grounded in responsibility, not an unconstrained freedom. And a third tent pole of dynamic tension. I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because it's really our intention to get you into conversation with each other. And so, diversity. I'd like you to look around the room real quick, and I want you to find the eyeballs of someone behind you, next to you. Turn your neck. I want you to look at each other. All right, turn around if you need to. This room is incredibly diverse, and it may look diverse from the outside, but I promise you that it has a dimensionality that may be surprising to you. And I believe that we are one of the few places in all of the fellow traveler organizations that have the kind of welcoming spirit that Doug talked about. And so let's talk about it. Yes, we have the obvious diversity in the tent. This room as it exists in our chapters, in our conversations. And we also have Hispanic and Asian, and we also have indigenous and multicultural. These are obvious. Doug hit on this one. What about Democrat and Republican? And this isn't a binary. I want you to imagine these are perspectives that are just in the room right now. Over there. Now, within Democrat and Republican, there are people in this room that if in November of next year, if the choice in the voting booth are these 2 candidates, there are people in this room that will be voting for Biden. And there are people in this room that will be voting for Trump. Okay? There are libertarians in this room. There are independents in this room. There are those who are religious in this room, very religious in this room, and those that are secular and even atheist in this room. There are those that are pro-life in this room, passionately, and there are those that are pro-choice. There are those in this room, when you think about the kind of one of the moments of tension culturally in our hyperpolarization around LGBTQ plus allies, and there are those that are critical. And these 2 perspectives have very different points of view on things, if we double click into just one sliver of this in the trans conversation, that have different points of view on what it should be allowed in sports. Do you guys get this? Right? This is diverse. And you're sitting next to people that have points of view. This is viewpoint diversity that is important for us to acknowledge. There are fossil fuel executives in this room. For some of you. Okay? And there are renewable energy leaders in this room. And then finally, there are those who want to protect what's right about America. This is a conservative, traditional consciousness. And there are people in this room that want to fix what's wrong with America, a more progressive worldview in this room. Now, the beauty, and Doug pointed to this, is that there is a unifying principle that keeps us together. And that is, we are committed to elevating humanity through business. And if you are a fossil fuel executive and you care about the poor and you want to bring cheap, reliable energy in the form of natural gas to the developing world, to Africa, because you care about the poor and you want to be a part of the bridging strategy to future more sustainable energy, and you want to elevate humanity through business, you are welcome here. If you're a fossil fuel executive who's simply interested in extraction and profit and self-serving, this is not the tent for you. But we can't just dismiss people because they voted here or they're in this industry. Is this making sense? Yeah? Okay. So I want to read this quote. An awakened human being realizes that the other person is never the problem. Rumi. And I want to clear now, relatively quickly, freedom, and then our final tent pole around dynamic tension and creative tension. This is a freedom that is responsible. It is constrained. There are boundary conditions in the kind of freedom that we stand for in this tent. And obviously, David was just talking about this, the power of the stock market, the power of free markets, the power of voluntary exchange. Free markets, free speech, and free discourse. We've had a little bit of tension in the room, a little bit of varying viewpoints on the stage at the bar last night. I was a participant in that. And this is critical. We take it, I know we have an international group here, but as an American, we often take it for granted that we have this thing called the First Amendment. And if we go back to the 1970s when the ACLU won a landmark Supreme Court case that allowed a neo-Nazi group to march through Skokie, Illinois, where many Holocaust survivors were living. Because that's what we stand for in America, and that's what we stand for in this tent, is freedom. How do we actually create the space for people to have a differing point of view and to have discourse respectfully and coming from a place of openness and listening and curiosity? You guys get this? Okay, this isn't just a free-for-all. There has to be a commitment to the relationship, and there has to be a commitment to mutual respect, but we have differing viewpoints. I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. It's a very well-known quote. This is a biographer of Voltaire. It's often attributed to Voltaire, but she actually, Evelyn Beatrice Hall, actually wrote this statement. And then finally, dynamic tension. And we're going to end with the one that's the most challenging. And so what I'd like you guys to do is find a yellow rubber band quickly. They're on the chairs. Hand them to your neighbors. Take 10 seconds. Get to a rubber band. All right. And we don't need any music for this one. We're good. Okay. I want everybody to do this, please. You guys get this? Okay, I want you to do what I'm doing. This represents tension. When you are in a conversation with somebody who has a differing viewpoint, and you are experiencing this anxiety, this distress, what is the natural response to this? What do we want to do with the tension? We want to relieve the tension. Everybody relieve the tension. What's gone now? Energy. There's no energy for change or transformation or growth because the energy is not there. And let's go back to the creative tension. We're now back to energy. Can we lean in on this? Terry said this most beautiful thing with Dave when her employees said, when is it going to stop? When is the tension going to stop? What did she say? Never. All right? Gervais, he said, you got to learn to rumble with the discomfort. You remember that? To rumble with the discomfort. Tulane, we got to be gritty hope. We got to stay in the tension Because in the tension is where we get to lean in on our own edge, to relax into, so to surrender. That as conscious leaders, this is the steady state. Bill Urey said, conflict is a natural part of the human condition, and there is destructive conflict. I could break the rubber band. And there is a creative and a productive tension. So you're going to watch a video now, and then you're going to go into a breakout. And I want you to really take a big, deep breath as you watch this and be prepared to talk in small groups for a few minutes at the conclusion. So we're going to drop the lights and play the video.
I would describe my political views as the new right.
I'd say that I'm left.
Feminism today is man-hating.
I would describe myself as a feminist, 100%.
I don't believe that climate change exists.
We're not taking enough action on climate change.
I think it's about time these people got off the high horse and started looking for credible problems that actually exist.
It's absolutely critical that trans people have their own voice.
That's not right. You can't, you know, you're a man, be a man, or you're a female, be a female.
Women do need to remember that we need you to have our children.
Could I be friends with someone that says a woman's place is in the home?
Right, OK, well, I'm an expert at flat packs. If you have any trouble, just watch me.
So it looks like I've got your instructions here.
I think so.
Let me help you.
It's not just that bit there.
Describe what it is like to be you in 5 adjectives.
Okay, frustrating.
Dedicated.
Opinionated.
Lucky.
Ambitious.
Offensive.
Solemn. I have ups and downs.
Strong.
I want to say attacked, misunderstood.
Name 3 things you and I have in common.
We're both male, we're both confident, and we're both loudly spoken.
We know each other better than people who've known each other for 10 minutes should.
You seem quite ambitious and positive, and you've got this really, got a glow. Do you know what I'm saying? Your aura's pretty cool.
I'm sensing, are you former military or something?
People have said that, but there is no,
Really?
there is no history. So are you then ex-military?
Yeah.
If you're ex-military, I'm very proud of you already.
Well,
So
I grew up in a bit of a rough state. I've experienced homelessness. I've known what it's like to have absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely most grateful just for life.
We've only just met, but I think you're the sort of person that would listen to me and we'd have a discussion rather than argue.
Yeah, you could hang out with, man.
let's go. My chance.
Goodness sake.
You're right, mate.
Fitter than I look.
Perfecto.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So basically, I think we just built a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, each take a bottle and place it on its corresponding markings on the bar.
Attention. Please now stand to watch a short film.
Feminism today is definitely an excuse for misandry, man-hating.
If somebody said to me that climate change is destroying the world, then I'd say that is total piffle.
So transgender, it is very odd. We're not set up to understand or see things like that.
I am a daughter, a wife. I am transgender.
I feel like the battle for feminism definitely isn't done. The fight is never going to be over, if I'm honest with you.
You now have a choice. You may go, or you can stay and discuss your differences over a beer.
I'm only joking.
You're happy for a second then.
Well, I'm having a drink.
I'm having a drink.
Yeah.
I want to discuss.
Beer.
Yeah, beer and discuss.
Cheers.
At the end of the day, mate,
About
I've
reaching
enjoyed
out to
working
people,
with you.
yeah. And, you know, even if you wanted to convince people about your point, the productive thing to do would be to sit
It's
down and have a
engage, it's
beer.
engage.
I've been brought up in a way where everything's black and white, but life isn't black and white.
Yeah, I'm just me.
Yeah.
Smash the patriarchy.
I'll give you my mobile number, you give me yours, and we'll keep in touch. I'd have to tell my girlfriend that I'll be texting another girl. She might get upset with that, but I'll have to get round that.
I'll have to tell my girl that
she'll have to run with it.
I want to thank Heineken for blessing the opportunity to play that. I get asked a lot of questions. Is that a real experiment? 2017 commercial from the UK. I didn't know. It seemed to be real. I had the opportunity to reach out to the C-suite at Heineken USA. I talked to one of their executives. I got the full history. It's a real social experiment. Those are not actors. I also got an opportunity to understand why they made the film. I also got an opportunity to hear the incredible blowback on that commercial from the right and the left for a variety of different reasons, and how they had to stand, like Lynn said, they had to stand in what they care about and what that represents for them in their purpose and their ideology, and they're a multi-generational brand it's a Dutch company in Amsterdam, and they're public, but they're still owned by the Heineken family. And so they have a lot of the attributes that a purpose-based business has. And I got enrolled, and I really want to make sure we could be in integrity as we debrief that. So that is a form of leadership. And that is a form of tension. Yeah. I'm going to put the last slide up, guys. The last slide as my transition to Cheryl. Last slide in my deck. Let's go. And here we go. All right, I just need to give you this Eckhart Tolle quote, which I've never seen until getting ready for this presentation. Accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your whole life. And lastly, do you have the will to lead? That experiment does not represent the average person who is worlds apart. It represented the people who are willing to stay and have a beer. Okay? That's not the norm. This was the outliers. Are we able to see ourselves as those outliers who are able to go back to our communities and actually lean in, and do we have the will to lead?